Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Smash that subscribe button. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. We're on the move to getting more subscribers. So do us a heavy. Smash that subscribe button below. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, Happy New Year's. Hope everyone had a great holiday. You can find us Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Also, check us out on Discord and Reddit, and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
Yeah, and when we say we hope you had a good holiday, we hope you didn't spend too many days in the IR hungover like I did.
Yeah,
What a
couple days.
A couple good meals ruined because I decided to have a couple extra whiskeys and sing karaoke. It's tragic. Anyways, we got Bomber talk, CFL talk, but let's talk. Let's start with Winnipeg.
We should record an episode of you singing karaoke, or at least part of the episode.
No, we're trying to gain subscribers, not lose them.
Right.
2024 new strategy. Let's go with Jets talk, brought to you by Fahrenheit Airbrushing. Stand out on the ice, pavement, or the field with a custom airbrushed helmet or goalie mask. A local Manitoba business with affordable solutions for any project. Check out Fahrenheit Airbrushing on Facebook or call them at 204-891-7431. Tell them Ray and Benny sent you. We've been away. Let's do a quick review on the last couple weeks. What stood out for you with the Winnipeg Jets? And they're on fire, just saying.
Yeah, so those 6 games basically, since we recorded 5-0-1. And their one loss coming against Chicago of all teams in overtime.
Yeah. Maybe we should be recording.
Yeah, exactly. They started playing a lot better. Yeah, it's crazy to think Chicago's the last team. And their last regulation loss was San Jose 10 games ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And lost to Montreal in overtime. Those are the only teams they've lost to, which is crazy to me. When you've played Tampa, you've played Boston, Detroit, all these teams in the back-to-back with Minnesota, and those are the teams you lost to. But great display by them. I mean, what stood out? The goaltending stood out to me. Both guys. Obviously, Hellebuyck's having another career year, putting out some great numbers. But it's good to have a backup like Laurent Brossoit, who's coming in and playing these games as well, and he's not letting in more than 3 goals either on his end. So it's fun to watch, and I hope they give Brossoit more games as we hit down the stretch here, because we want Hellebuyck fresh for those playoffs. But it's a nice thing to have this year.
Goaltending has been mental. Hellebuyck just got the nod as a defensive star, one of the defensive stars of December. One of the stars of the month in the NHL for December. Defensive December. You know how I got to mix them up. He posted a 7-0-2 record with a 934 save percentage and a 1.88 goals against. Currently tied in second in the NHL with 17 wins. Like, I've told you how I really hate the name Vezina, but he is in Vezina form. Like, isn't it weird? Like, this guy has won a Vezina, 3-time Vezina finalist, 4-time All-Star now.
Yep. Yeah, and got another one this year, right? Just got nominated today.
This is the first time he's gotten a nod for Player of the Month in his career.
Are you serious? That is crazy.
What? I know. So I'm on board with what you said about goaltending. It's good. And like you said, Brossoit also is becoming solid. And that's what we were hoping for when they signed him.
Yeah, and it didn't start off well for either of these guys to start the season off, when we were kind of both worried. And even for Brossoit, it took him a little bit longer to find his game. But it's good to have that, because, if Brossoit can hit 20-plus games and the Jets feel comfortable playing him in more and more games and not just back-to-back stuff, that'll be great for Hellebuyck going into the grind of the playoffs as well, right? So, barring that, obviously, the Jets make the playoffs, right? So,
knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. But and then, and another thing for me over this course is the up and down scoring. Like, the whole lineup is scoring. Sheffield hasn't scored in the last 6 games. I don't even know if he has very many points in the last 6 games, if any. But you got guys like Velarde who are filling it in. Ehlers is getting goals. Nemestikov, Nino, right? Like, all these guys. Toninato has 4 points, I think, since coming into this lineup. And we were like, oh, good thing he's down on the moves, man. These guys are all just filling in for each other. And without Kyle Connor, they're still scoring at a great pace.
And that's shout out to Rick Bowness. This is a testament to the system that he's brought in. And I'm going to piggyback on what you're saying about scoring in depth. They've also played some great team defense. Like
Yep.
since the Canadian games, it's all been 1 and 2 goal games.
Yeah.
And they've been putting up some 4 and 5 goal games. Like, and how many in a row games are they now where they've allowed 3 goals or less?
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
20 something?
Yeah.
Like this goes back to Bonus in June saying that they're going to be a team that's going to create offense by having good defense. And that's what they've been doing. They've been locking teams down, like from the neutral zone inside to their zone, creating turnovers. They're on their ass. They're creating pressure. They're being aggressive, and they're turning it around and creating opportunities in the offensive zone. Like team defense is crazy.
Well, yeah, because we talked about earlier in the season about that, and thinking, hey, the Jets to win some games, they're gonna have to win a lot of 2-1 games because they're not going to score a lot, so their defense has got to be good. But they've actually been scoring way more than we expected, and it's very balanced. Like some teams have guys at 50 points already. I think Shifley is leading the way, and he's only in the 30 something point range. Forgot to write
Yeah.
it down here, but but there's a lot of guys in that range. Like Connor, who's been out for how many games now? Is still in the top 5 because that's how many points he had gotten too. But yeah, the Jets are 8th in goals for per game. Like that is crazy, and that's with a terrible power play. The one thing that still keeps the one of the
Oh,
two things
that's what I had to.
that still keeps holding this team down. It's
Yeah,
like how
preach.
good could they be if they could get this power play going?
Yeah, they haven't found that formula yet. Like, we see them trying different things. Like they took Shifley, it seems, off the wall. They tried to put him in the slot to create more offense. They did get one power play goal in the last game. Was it
They
one?
did. But it's been the second line. They've scored the last 3 power play goals that they've scored.
Yes, and you think like the goals are getting on the power play. They are second in the league right now. No, they're tied for first in the league right now for rebound goals, 5-on-5 with 17 with Vancouver. You think with that success, they'd say, hey, let's just throw some pucks on the net in the power
Yeah.
play and get those rebounds. But they seem to be trying to get that perfect shot still.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. It's really mind boggling. For everything else, they're executing almost perfectly.
Like how do you sit 8th in the league at like in your mainly scoring your goals 5-on-5? Like that is
Yeah.
crazy to me. Like to think and you know how to score goals, obviously, because you're scoring them 5-on-5. It's just they overthink it when the power play hits or something. And like you say, they're passing it back and forth, waiting for that perfect shot. Get that puck on the net. Hope for
Yeah.
things to happen in there. What do you got to lose at this point? What you're doing is not working. So let's start chucking some pucks at the net and see how that goes. But
You mentioned like Connor, but also Kapari, also Gustafson. What is this team going to look like when those guys return? Like
yeah.
the bottom 6 has been solid. After that, like what game was that when the Jets scored like 5 goals, pretty much all on the first line?
No, it was before this stretch because Shifley hasn't scored in a while. It was before the
Yeah,
Detroit game, before the Detroit game.
and they're still putting up 4 or 5 goal games. Like
Yeah,
you have Johnson Fialbi playing great. You have Barron putting in goals on the fourth line. Like what do you do when Connor comes back?
yeah,
Good
yeah.
problem to have.
The biggest issue for me still with this forward group is maybe having a better second line center. Then Nemestikov has done well in his time there, but you want to see maybe someone who can fill in a little bit better than him. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what you do with Connor. Obviously, he's going back in the top 2 lines. I mean, they mixed the lines
Oh,
up
yes.
quite a bit in the last game or so, and I think they're going with a bit of a different first and second line are mixed up a little bit than what they've been for the last little bit. But yeah, Connor's going back up there. Kapari and Gustafson, like you say, Toninato and Fialbi, like to me, have been playing really well, especially for Fialbi.
Yeah.
He's filled in a little bit longer, but he's scored a couple goals, a couple speed goals. Like it's just like watching a guy going, wow, he's a good fourth liner. Like you take a chance of having to send him down and losing someone like they lost Esimont last year.
No, you
He's turned
can't.
into a good player for Tampa. Like no, a month ago I would say, yeah, throw Fialbi away, let him go, man. But now I'm like, you can't lose this guy.
They've stated their case.
Yeah.
They've stated their case. And you said Perf, but is Perfetti trending downwards? And maybe Connor playing with him on the second line might open things up. Uh, like Nemestikov has not been playing badly.
No.
And like I know people like to bring up the analytics, but from me on the eye test, it seems like Perfetti is trending downwards.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because they're putting him with Scheifele and IFL. That's the lineup today. They played a bit, I guess, in the last game too. So it'll be interesting to see once he gets that guy back because he's been with Nemestikov, IFL, not the greatest in terms of skill at this point with those guys, right? Yeah, they'll chip in goals for sure here and there, but Perfetti's got that. He seems like he's got that keen eye to find another playmaker or another scorer kind of thing. So we'll see how he does with Scheifele for them probably the next couple games, hopefully at least, right?
Yeah.
Well, no one bonus. Bonus is not as bad as Maurice, where he's going to throw the blunder right away if these guys don't score in the first period. So
Let's stay on Perfetti here.
okay.
And that clown Hartman
Oh,
putting the
jeez.
stick to his face. Like,
Mm.
uh, what are the limitations on using audio in a game? Like, I had no idea that part of the arrangement of being mic'd up is you cannot use that to in regards to suspension or disciplinary action. And I think that is ridiculous. If a person is saying on the record that they are targeting someone as redemption but with violence, you have to use that. Like, what if they used a slur? You're not going to use that? So, like, it didn't happen. There has to be some review of that. And that stick to the face was absolutely a joke.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're going to have these recordings, yeah, to a certain extent, you still want the guys to actually talk on the ice. You still want them to throw those chirps out, but obviously, you want them to keep anything clean, anyways. So yeah, you're not chirping any racial slurs or anything like that just because you have a mic on. You shouldn't be doing that even without the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, admitting, hey man, I'm gonna cross check you in the face here, right here, as retribution. It's like, what the is going on at this point with that kind of stuff? You already had Lowry having to fight Foligno to start that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Straight off the bat.
so it's like, hey, the shit's over, and it's not like Hartman's been the cleanest guy, man. The guy went after Ehlers last year. He's done a lot of damage to some Jets players.
He's a
Um,
clown.
it sucks for the Wild that hey, Kaprizov got hurt. Dylan's doing what they normally do, cross checking. It's like happens a million times a game. If you want that out of the game, refs have got to start calling the first one and stop it.
Absolutely.
I hate it too. It's not the greatest thing to continue to cross check someone. It's unfortunate that he ended up getting hurt. But you're okay with Perfetti getting cross-checked in the face basically by like the shaft of the freaking stick?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Jamal Myers is okay with that on
Oh, jeez.
shout out to Jen Botterill for calling that goofiness out. Like, that's so old school with this guy. Like, he's from the culture that allowed stuff to happen within the Blackhawks organization. That's the kind of stupidity that's going on right now with him doubling down on, oh, yeah, that's okay. It's part of the culture of the game. Like, shout out to Jen Botterill for calling his nonsense out.
The only point that he said yesterday that makes sense is how they officiate the playoffs differently. Like he
Yeah.
said, it's something along that the playoffs set hockey back 6 years, kind of thing. Like because they let this crap go that they don't let during the regular season, and they let all this cheapness go and all this dirtiness go in the playoffs that they wouldn't in the regular season. And to me, that's where the NHL's got to clean it up because you got to showcase all of a sudden here the top 16 teams going at it over the
Yeah.
next 2 months for the cup, and you're allowing it to get the game to get bogged down. That's when more people are going to be watching your game is in the playoffs. People aren't going to
Absolutely.
watch all 80 games, but hey, they'll stick around to watch 2 months of playoffs. But
You
now
want
all
to
of a
see more
sudden,
offense.
yeah, now all of a sudden the game's boring because you're letting these goon teams or these bigger guys just beat the crap out of little guys, and the
Yeah.
offense kind of goes away and the skill goes away. So
Absolutely. Because
yeah,
they allow a little more to happen. There's a little more leeway. Come on, clown
yeah,
show.
exactly.
Get it together here. Am I missing anything? Are we going to the upcoming preview? We talked about Perfetti. We talked about the craziness coming up. Yeah. Let's talk about the next games coming up. They have the Coyotes. Well, they have the Sharks coming up first, and then they have the Ducks, and then they have the Coyotes. How do you see that shaking out? What do they have to do to win?
Just continue playing the same way. And again, we just talked about the teams they just lost to, right? They've lost to Montreal and Chicago in overtime and San Jose in regulation. So now you got three teams coming in, or three, they're going, on the road here anyways.
Yeah.
But the Sharks are number 32 in the league. The Ducks are number
Uh,
30. Right. So you should be able to handle those two teams fairly easily. I know they're West Coast games. Sometimes they struggle in those, but both of
yes.
those teams are not good. And like we said, the Jets are eighth in goals for. They're also second in goals against per game. And obviously
Mhm.
power play penalty is not very good. Their penalty kill is sitting 27th as well. So That's another problem where the Jets are. They're not scoring on their power plays, but they're giving up goals against them.
Special
The-
teams.
yeah, I mean, the Ducks 3-6-1 in the last 10. The only thing is their goalie last night, was it Lucas Dostal?
Yep.
That guy looked amazing against the Leafs, stopping 55 and 57. So, he's been up and down this year. That's obviously his best game of the season and crazy game. But if he can put up some numbers like that against the Jets, it may be a little bit tougher.
Why is it so quiet in Leafs Nation? Isn't quiet? Even
Yeah.
TSN doesn't want to cover them.
TSN is still covering them.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I think they should really go 3-0,
Yeah.
but that's usually not the case. The Jets all time are 16-13. Talking about Jets 2.0 against the Sharks, but they've never lost more than 2 in a row against the Sharks. So I'm going to go on fate on this. I think they'll squeak out an overtime winner. But I think the power play might continue to give them woes. Something about the Sharks. They're always busy and they always like to play the Jets. I don't know what it is. Len Carlson is out. Leo Carlson is out for the Ducks. Gudas is out for the Ducks. And I think Ryan Strome might be out for the Ducks. And the Jets are currently on like a 5 or 6 game winning streak against the Ducks that dates back to 2021. So I'm going to take the Jets in that one. And the Jets have an 8-game winning streak against the Coyotes, but they're on the tail end of this West Coast Pacific road trip. So I think the hockey gods will say, you know what, let's give this one to the Coyotes. And they're playing surprisingly well. Yeah. They're playing with a lot of depth as well. And they have that Ingram and Vejmelka in as a duo in net. So, and they're doing it without their number one center. So shit. Oops, sorry. So I'll give this one to the Coyotes without Hayton. He's on the IR still. Impressive.
Who's on the IR still?
Hayton.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For the Coyotes.
Yeah, I mean,
center, damn.
They've already beaten the Coyotes twice this year, 5-3 and 5-2. But like you say, it's the end of that road trip, against the Ducks. And it's a Sunday, 6:00 start, I believe. So a little bit earlier. I guess that'll be about 4:00 Pacific time there. But
yeah.
Or no, are Coyotes not Pacific? Are they just an hour?
They're
or are they 2 hours?
What's Calgary?
Calgary's only an hour.
So yeah, that's right? That time zone.
Right. Keep getting confused when the daylight savings time stuff switches. If they whatever.
Stupidity. We are not based on farming anymore. Let's just change that trash. It's not necessary.
No.
Yeah, but like you said, they had got to get that power play going. They're playing against that teams that do not have strong penalty kills, and it'd be a great opportunity for them to get that going. And I think that'll almost guarantee wins for them all the way through if they can get their power play going.
Yeah, we've said this in the past too, right? Like hey, they're playing a team that does not have a good penalty kill. This is a chance to turn it up against them, and it doesn't end up working out. But hopefully they can, man, because they got to get that going. Especially down the stretch. And like we say, if they can add that to the 5-on-5 goals they're getting right now, it'll just make things easier for them as they chase that playoff spot and maybe finish first in the Western Conference if they can. Right? They're certainly tied. I believe they're tied right now.
Top of the West?
Yeah. They're tied for first in the Central, or they're still behind Vancouver in the West. I can't remember now. So
third in the NHL.
Yeah. So
shoot. Oh, I don't know. Depending on games that are happening tonight, which I've not watched. So playing with the Sharks, Ducks, Coyotes. Can they beat the bad teams too?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I expect them full. I expect them to go 3-0. Barring even the last game of the road trip, all that kind of stuff. I still expect them to win that game. But of course, anything can happen, right? And we've seen it. We get too cocky in games against bad teams, and all of a sudden they end up blowing the game or can't find a way to score a goal. So we'll see. Like we said, the last 3 losses, overtime losses, and that have all been against teams in the bottom 5 of the league. So you gotta figure this out, and you gotta be able to find that game even when you're playing a bad team. Because hey, if you make the playoffs as the number 1 seed, you're playing in the 8th place team, right?
Yeah,
you're better than
at home.
So you have to figure out how to beat them as well. On paper, it's not going to matter, or the standings aren't going to matter once playoffs hit. If the team's worse than you, they can still beat you. So they have to figure out how to play every team the same way.
I think we need to bring Dr. Strawn, the sports psychologist, on and talk about what she thinks about why, because it's not a Jets thing. And
Yeah.
there's no way it's a Winnipeg thing because we saw the Bombers lose to the Red Blacks, the Tie Cats, and they got upset in the Grey Cup against the Alouettes. So it can't be a Winnipeg thing. It must be
Oh,
a
yeah.
sports thing, and I think we have to dissect that because it's crazy. They should be able to beat teams, like bad teams, but I don't know.
And the funny thing, I'm just looking at this now. Their games after that, once they come back next week, are Blue Jackets and the Blackhawks again.
Yeah,
Like,
see,
so there's 5 games right in a row here that they should not have an issue winning these games.
yeah,
And obviously, again, anything can happen. Guys may get injured. Guys may get tired. Bad luck happens. But this should legitimately be 5 straight wins right here for the Jets coming up.
yeah.
To add on to the 3 they just won.
And if you look at sports, like it does not happen as often in boxing because these guys are focused on that one game.
Except
There's
for Mike
not
Tyson.
2, 3. Well, every fighter has an upset.
No.
You know what I'm
Yeah, he
saying?
was not focused. That's what I'm getting at. He was
And
not
that
focused.
does not happen very. Oh, he was getting messed up in Tokyo. Shoot. And that does not happen because they have the one off, right?
Mhm.
They're focused on that one, or they should be. But hockey, you have multiples after. So your focus, hey, we got to watch out for Dallas coming up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Forget San Jose. And that's what happens. Who knows?
Oh yeah. Big time. For sure.
Bombers.
Looking ahead and not paying attention to what's right in front of you.
Yeah. Letting Dustin Crum look good. Oh my goodness.
Ottawa, Hamilton, losing to Edmonton at first till they came back. Dude.
Before we get to the Bombers, let's finish off the Winnipeg Jets. Are the Jets a legitimate Stanley Cup contender at this point? I'm going to have to say yes. They've beaten some very good teams lately. They've done it in different ways. Sometimes it's pretty when you get 5 goals from the first line, like we mentioned before. And sometimes it's a grind out game, like against Minnesota when they won 3-2 later on. Was it Tony Nato who got that winner?
Yep.
Shoot. And of course, they have world-class elite goaltending and Hellebuck. So whenever you have that, you're automatically a contender. But I think with the depth that they have and the ways that they won, they are a legitimate contender.
Yeah, like you say, the game against Detroit and Boston, they dominated those games. They've won those games handily, right? Then you lose to Chicago, but whatever.
Even you got that mentality. Whatever.
I can't say any more about that game. It's like they all played Chicago. They just couldn't find a goal really.
Mhm.
And then Bedard wins it in overtime. Against Wild, it was grind out games, right? And they did it. They won. Against Tampa, they kind of got outplayed, and Tampa had a lot of great chances. Hellebuck kept them in the game, and the Jets finished when they can. So yeah, all those games were won differently over this stretch. So are they contenders? I hate to get ahead of myself because we saw last year it kind of swooned and they fell off. But to me, it's a different team this year compared to last year. I think last year was more Hellebuck keeping them in games and winning them. And yes, he's playing great again, but the team around him is also putting up a lot of goals in games here and there. So yeah. I'm going to say they're legitimate Stanley Cup contenders until otherwise stated, right? They've been playing well. They've beaten some good teams. They haven't lost a game to a team in the East besides Montreal twice in overtime. So they haven't lost in regulation to a team in the East. Right? I think they're 7-0-3 or something, or now 8-0-3 after whatever it is. But yeah, they got a shot at this thing if they can keep it going and injuries stay away.
And it's well, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. No. We're done with Winnipeg Jets talk. We're very excited, obviously. Let's move on to some Winnipeg Jets talk. Year in review, 2023. Let's talk about.
Sorry, you mean Winnipeg Blue Bomber talk, not Winnipeg Jets
Winnipeg
talk.
Blue Bomber talk. Favorite play of 2023. I'm going to go first. And I'm not even going to go with the starting quarterback on this play. I'm going to go with Drew Brown, fourth quarter, 13:51 left. The Bombers have the ball on the Edmonton 32-yard line. Drew Ball gets a ball off on the snap. Play action to Brady Oliveira. It pauses the defensive end. He's looking at Oliveira, gives Drew Brown a couple extra seconds to break out and roll out to the right, and he throws a 45-yard to 50-yard throw into the end zone to Kenny Lawler with a one-handed catch for the touchdown, where the Bombers took the first lead of the game, 31-29, after being down 22-0. And they ended up winning the game 38 or 38-29.
Mhm.
That performance right there very well might have punched Drew Brown's ticket out of Winnipeg. But that is my favorite play of the year for 2023. Shoot.
Yeah, there was a lot trying to look back in that, like a lot of great Oliveira runs. Obviously, Clarles TDs. I'm going the most recent, and I'm going in the West Final. And the score was 18-13. Fourth quarter was just starting. BC were starting to drive, and Demario Houston came up with probably the biggest interception of the season for the
Yes.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Stopping that drive, it led to a Bomber field goal where they took the 8-point lead. Right. So yeah, that was a big play because BC was getting some momentum and starting to make a move, and he snuffed it out.
This smile on my face is half remembering being there and seeing that, half happy that you picked a defensive play. That's great. Oh, we got an offensive and defensive play on the review. Let's move on. After biggest play, let's talk about biggest frustration as a Bomber fan from the 2023 season. You go first.
I mean, obviously, not winning the Grey Cup is the biggest frustration with the team they had in the season they had, and who they're playing in the final. They should have been able to win that. I mean, we all know that's the frustration of it all. But for me, I'm going to go just the inconsistent offense and Zach Collaros' penchant for turnovers this season, kind of thing. The offense at times got it going, but for the most part, they were kind of just struggling and turning their wheels quite a bit. And Collaros was looking for plays that weren't there sometimes, and he even did it in the Grey Cup kind of thing, and not taking what was there, and just untimely turnovers, which kind of hurt them in this
Yeah.
season.
Man, you talk about Grey Cup and Zach Caleros. I just noticed myself physically feeling ill about what happened. I can help myself. Um,
Well,
I'm gonna
look,
piggy.
you look back at some of these plays, and then it's like the Grey Cup always pops up there, right? And then I'm
Yes.
reading it again, going that third and 8 or second and 18 play that and it's just
Uh,
like, oh my god, look the interceptions, close in the red zone. It's like, oh, missed opportunities. So
yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that frustration of the offense and what I thought could have definitely helped to get some consistency in the offense. You've heard me say this a boatload of times throughout the year. My obsession with the offense is playing the heavy set. It really frustrated me that they did not use that as a staple of their offense. Like they have a great offensive line, an elite offensive line, and you add one more offensive lineman who is also good, and you pound the garbage out of the other defensive line. You can also play pass formation where they have three on the overload. How do you defend that? You have
yeah.
three receivers on one side. You cannot bring extra guys over because you still have to respect the run with Brady Oliveira on the heavy set, and you don't use that enough. It boggles my mind. That was a biggest frustration for me as a Bomber fan is not abusing teams with the heavy set.
Well, yeah, we saw them do that against BC in that game. They absolutely blew them out. But yeah, you expect them to use it a little bit more because they had the guys. They have a big bruising back. Pound that D
Yeah.
line. They could have done that, especially in the Grey Cup, to that Montreal D line,
Thank
and get
you.
them to kind of hesitate a little bit before they took off after Claros or Oliveira, right? So
Yeah. I think also Montreal, props to them, came out physical.
yeah,
And they're like, dang, they're going to match us up. So let's try and air it out. Let's try to spread it out. But they should have committed to pounding the garbage out of them.
yeah.
Depend on your defense to not let them score at the beginning, which they did. And look, we're talking about Grey Cup and it's done already.
Nothing you
See,
can do. Nothing we can do to
it's
change
2024, friends. Let's flip the page. Let's talk about what one thing are you most optimistic? I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, bro.
it. Yeah.
It's gonna hurt too much. I'm gonna start yelling. The neighbors are gonna get pissed, and the dogs are gonna act up. What is one thing that you're optimistic about going into the 2024 season?
Just because they're trending to have everyone, not everyone, but the majority of guys and coaches come back. You got Kyle Walters coming back. You got your coaching staff is intact. I know minus the special teams coach who just got let go, Paul Boudreau.
Yeah,
But Buck Pierce is back again. I feel he's just going to grow in that position a little bit more, and he's going
absolutely.
to realize things that, hey, I missed out on this last year. So they got that great coaching staff. Their GM is back, Kyle Walters, and guys are already starting to sign back. Right? You've got Willie Jefferson, Pat Neufeld, Brian Cole, who you love. Dietrich Nichols, Cam Lawson, and Kramdi Redra just to start.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm optimistic just looking at all this stuff that's going on. I feel like the Bombers are ready to get going on 2024 already. And I think it'll work out well for them.
Yeah, like all the signings have excited me.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm a fan of Cramdy being that Canadian talent, taking up the next step, and of course Brian Cole. Oh, when
Yeah.
I woke up, I saw that. Oh, I yelled any which way. Um, and what's optimistic for me is that last season, a lot of doubters were saying that this team is going to fall off. Like after Labor Day, they're going to show their age, they're going to tire up some, and they didn't. The Grey Cup, I was not concerned about their ability to go toe to toe with Montreal. They did not seem tired. It seemed more strategic mistakes
Yeah.
than personnel mistakes. You know, there's going to be some personnel changes, and I think there's going to be not an influx, but a good addition of young talent. Like when you commit to Brian Cole, thank goodness you're committing to having a very fast and playmaking defense. Like Brian Cole behind Willie Jefferson. Are you kidding me? So I'm very optimistic about this team. I'm not concerned about the age at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll know in a month, right? Because free agency starts in just over a month.
Yeah.
Who's coming back, who's gone, and who's going to retire probably at that point. But yeah, Brian Cole signing it, it's like, hey, well, who's not coming back on that linebacking core, right? So now that's is Malik Clemens gone, um, and stuff like that. We know Big Hill's back. Kyrie Wilson, is he going to be back? So throw
Or
some
elsewhere.
questions there.
Secondary.
Yeah, Goche,
Who do you
yeah,
go
stuff
younger?
like that. Yeah,
Is
you got.
Brandon Alexander available?
Yeah, he's a free agent, right?
What do you do with that?
Yeah.
He's
Dietrich
been a
Nichols is
huge
obviously back.
yes,
So
thank goodness. I think that was a great signing. But Brandon Alexander, it's like, do you commit to one more year to see what's up? He's been great for the community. Obviously, he's committed to us. Like, oh my goodness. So
dollars got
with
to
that,
make sense, right?
speaking of dollars making a sense, you have confidence in the Bombers signing Shone and Oliveira?
No, no. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be able to get both. I know they probably want them both back and would love to, but I don't think it's going to end up working out. To me, I look at it going, okay, you're either going with Dalton Schoen or Kenny Lawler at the wide receiver position because you can't pay both those guys,
Yeah.
over $200,000 each, and then throw Oliveira, who's probably getting at least 150 to 200. He may break that running back bank account, that they've been paid. So I'd love for both of them to be back. I know the Bombers would probably do that as well, but I think it's going to be if Oliveira is coming back, it's Oliveira, right? I
Yep.
think he's first, and then if Oliveira somehow gets an NFL job and you can go a little bit cheaper at running back, then there's a good chance that Schoen's coming back. But yeah, together, I don't think so.
I don't think Oliveira's going NFL. He hasn't had a sniff yet for a workout even.
No, yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
That's
There's guys that have been getting it right, and Oliveira hasn't. So
that's a tough one. I think they both will sign. I think the Bombers have to make some decisions on veterans that they have. There are some veterans that are either going to have to take less or going to have to go elsewhere because they must have those two players on offense, I believe, to be a contender. Oliveira is the best running back in the league, and he has his passport. And Schoen has the best chemistry with Caleros. They had Lawler, who is one of the best receivers in the league, still with Dembski, still with O'Leary Orange, still a very competent receiver, still a good receiving core, and they could not get the air game going with Lawler, who's, like I said, one of the best receivers in the league. There's something about Caleros and Schoen that clicks and it
I
opens up
do.
the rest of the
Yeah.
offense. And I think you're going to have to make the sacrifices. And I think they will make the sacrifices and have those tough conversations. It's like, yo, we love you. We know you deserve this much, but we can only offer you this much. And they'll have to make decisions.
Does Claros have to give some money back? Is that what you're saying? I'm sure he would do it, at least some of it, to get his boy back. Is like you say, sometimes he zeroes in on Dalton Jones,
Yeah.
and and he's his security blanket as soon as he starts rolling out to the right. The pass is most likely going to Dalton Jones at that point. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be tough.
I think O lines where the toughest decisions will have to be made.
Yeah,
Like Hardrick just came off a nominee for Offensive Lineman of the Year. But I don't know. Jeff Gray has a little experience at tackle. Do you? risk putting him at not risk, sorry. Do you try putting him at right tackle, save the money, and put it to your prime players? And then put maybe Tui inside in the middle and give him a shot. There's I am not Kyle Walters, so thank goodness.
It also depends on Liam Dobson if he's ready to take that guard spot as
Yes,
well, because then you could kick out Gray to the tackle spot. But I
it's
think it's tough though, because if these guys want to come back, like especially Hardrick and Stanley, because most of those guys are probably just coming back to play for the Bombers, right? Like they're
absolutely.
not coming back to go play somewhere else at this point, especially Bryant at his age. So it'd be tough to push them out the door. But yeah, they'll have that conversation saying, "Hey, we're gonna go this way," and then he may go, "Okay, I'm gonna retire then," if that's the case. But yeah, I mean, the Bombers got to, at the end of the day, the Bombers got to do what is best for them
Yeah.
and for the team ahead. I mean, they made that decision with Andrew Harris. I'm sure it was a tough decision at that time. And it ended up working out because look what happened to Oliveira. Worked out for Harris too because he won one more Grey Cup. So
Not so much for the
not
Bombers' Grey
Bombers
Cup
in the end.
aspirations.
Yeah.
Oh, the CFL drama filled. Is it June yet? Come on, let's go.
Well, I'm
Mother
excited.
Nature.
Hey, in a month, free agency. At least over the next month, we're going to figure out what's going on. Right? We're going to
Yeah.
figure out. They're going to make signings. Other guys are going to move on and all that stuff. So
CFL and TSN, y'all got a package this free agency coming up. Hardcore. There's so much movement that's going to happen. Take advantage of it online, whatever you can. Oh my goodness. Benny?
yeah, join us on Reddit or Discord. Let's have a conversation where everyone thinks these free agents should go or where they're going to go.
Oh, I got stuff to say.
Yeah,
Believe me, I got stuff to say.
there's a lot of free agents this year, man. So
speaking of stuff to say, Benny, you have anything to say to our friends in 2024?
you know what? Again, thanks a lot for listening. Thanks for helping us grow. Hope everyone has a great year and have a good week.
Have you seen this interview with Cat Williams?
I started watching some of it.
He's not holding back on those kangs of comedy. And from the famous words of Cat Williams in that special, don't say I wasn't afraid. There's no such thing as a human being not being afraid. There are certain human beings that understand that being afraid in no way stops you from doing what you got to do. Shit, that's a vibe I've been taking into 2024. Friends, Happy New Year from Ray and Benny.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.